Hello and welcome to On the Move. We are Matt and Betsy, and we are on a mission to explore the beautiful island of Prince Edward Island. We've made this home over the last year or so, and this week I must say I enjoyed this exploration project. We got to participate in a sheep shearing day.
Yes, we did. Now, we should note this is by invitation only. Don't think that PEI is an open province where you can come and just jump in and shear sheep. You do need to have some connections in order to do that.
And I'm thankful for the ones that we have here.
Yes, we have some delightful new friends that we have met and made. Kim and Ken over at Fleece Harmony. They have their own flock that they raise and care for, and then they use the fleece from that flock to create the most gorgeous yarn, which I think you have heard me plug a few times. Mm-hmm. We all have our own garment out of their yarn that they make at the mill is right on their property as well at Fleece Harmony.
And they use also fleece from other flocks around the island.
Yes,
too, not just their own.
Yeah, I think we learned while we were there that their flock would be considered a fairly small
flock.
I
think so. Well, based on the shearers' comments, and it only was really like half a day's worth of shearing that they had there.
So,
but I think it was good for us.
It was great for us. Yes, we enjoyed it very much. So how many do you remember?
32.
32 sheep that were actually sheared that day. Mm-hmm. So we got to go and be part of it, like very much hands-on. We all did some rapid learning in order to be part of it.
And I gotta say, when they do that on their own, they are working awfully hard, because we added a number of people there, and all of us there were working quite well to get those fleeces in the shape.
We should say all of the adults definitely had an assigned job that we were doing.
Yeah, we brought our girls along, and this is one of these moments that I'm like, I am glad that we got them out of the city, because we are. So Betsy and I we're first generation removed from farming.
I always say first generation off the farm.
Yeah, your parents farmed. My mother grew up on a farm. Yeah. And so we were like small town, and our girls grew up in the city.
Yes.
And while our growing up, I guess, still.
Well, so for me, mine moved into town when I was kind of starting school, so kindergarten age. But my older siblings very much remember coming off. My parents had a goat farm, so they milked and had goats for meat as well. So I remember a little bit of it, but those memories are pretty foggy. But my father continued to participate within the farming community well after we were into town. I won't get into details about that right here. So I stayed loosely connected to it. I still had way more exposure to farm opportunities than my children had.
And my uncles still to this day are farmers, and when I was a teenager I went and worked for them, so I got a bit of understanding of farming life.
Mine was like exposure to what I would call mixed farming, so there were animals involved, there were crops of, like, I remember strawberries and sweet corn and that kind of thing, where your family is much more cash cropping, so you didn't have the animals, but they worked the fields. And significant amount.
Yeah, and our girls entirely city life. Yeah. We feel they need some education on what it's like in rural Canada.
Yes.
And so this is part of
this. Was fantastic, because they got to get up close and personal with those sheep.
Mm-hmm.
So our youngest came in with the goal. She said she just wanted to get one sheep to like her and to follow her around. So thankfully, Kim has put in some significant amount of time taming their flock. The shearer was commenting a couple times, when you're working with pets like these, it's a little different. So they're not afraid of people. They're very comfortable with people. Yeah. Even for a flock of sheep, I would say they were fairly settled and comfortable having us in the barn, because Kim and Ken were there. So knowing that their shepherds essentially were present helped them to be more relaxed with us participating as well. So there was one in particular, I believe her name is Diana, that Evelyn was able to win over and felt became her friend. I think she is quite tame to begin with, and I understand she's a very friendly personality, but it made Evelyn feel great. So that was wonderful. Yeah. And then our older, new to the teenage, well, not brand new anymore. No. Anyway, we're moving along. Our teenager, she was a little bit more cautious at first. She did eventually kind of get in there and kind of get involved, but a little more tentatively. Yeah. And she did confess when we came home in the evening that she had fun, she enjoyed the day, but I don't think she's going to take up farming anytime soon.
No, no. But you could see, so one of her jobs was we progressively made the sheep pens smaller so that they had less room to run away from us. And her job was to hold some of that pen together. And so she sat there very removed, and then near the end she was kind of like shoving the sheep around a little bit
Gently,
too.
guiding. We'll call them guiding. Oh, she also did at one point too. So we should maybe explain kind of just the run through of what happens. So
Yeah, we should. Yeah, now that we know what our girls were doing, we'll go back to the beginning.
Yeah. So to start, the sheep are. Why don't you tell that part, because you did most of that, where the sheep are to start.
Well, I'll go very first. It's all waiting on the shearer, and so I know that there are people. In fact, I think I know of a small farm down the road from us here where they do their own shearing, but a lot of people bring in professional shearers in order to get their sheep shorn. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Shorn?
Yeah. I think so.
And so we were waiting. That's the first step. You're waiting on the shearer to come in. And this lady, we were very impressed with her. And apparently she comes with a lot of experience and accolades and things as well.
She started very young. She's been all over the island doing it, as well as she has even done a bunch of training in flocks and in New Zealand.
Which is apparently a totally different ballgame.
And now essentially she didn't refer to her as an apprentice, but I think, or maybe she did.
She called herself a mentor.
And, and she has an apprentice as well.
Yeah. So we wait on the shearer. She comes in and we kind of organize ourselves according to what she wants to do and where she wants to set herself up. And so when she came in, well, first of all, I guess Ken and Kim had brought the sheep into kind of a shrunken pen because
smaller than
they normally would be, because we knew we were going to have to feed them into a system to get them shorn. And so that had already been done. So when she got there, we set everything up. She got her clippers set up the right way. She got a board laid down for herself in just the right spot. Which was just
a regular piece of plywood, just a clear spot that she knows she's working on this clean surface.
She's kind of got what do you call a pen of sorts?
Yep.
That you hook up just right where the gates open so that you can feed the sheep in. You've got a dummy sheep out front. That's actually what they call it, a dummy sheep.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to call it the leader sheep.
Oh, it's the dummy sheep, which sits out there.
Or the decoy or something.
So the idea is that all the other sheep will follow into this system so that they're ready to be taken by the shearer. Well, these sheep, because they are pet sheep, they weren't so sure about this.
A little wise to the system.
Yeah, and so we had to do some wrestling of the sheep, guiding of them.
So that was you and Ken that was in the pen.
Yeah. And our youngest for a little bit too. She was kind of protecting an area where they could have gotten out where they shouldn't have. Yeah. And then from there, so the shearer does her job, and maybe we'll insert here. We took a bunch of pictures and video and stuff. We'll show you a little bit of the process.
Which we definitely want to assure you, it does look a little different if you don't know much about farming and sheep and such. It can look a little, they do get laid onto their back, and she's maneuvering them and zipping them around. But I was standing right there, and I can attest that those sheep were pretty chill and calm. Yeah. And they let her spin and move them as they need to be so that she can get to all the different areas that she needed. And she just zips that wool right off and knows exactly what she's doing. So it's pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah. Watch her and you think, man, that is a tough job.
Just very physical.
Yeah, very physical. Yeah.
She even has special little shoes I took a picture of that she has to wear, or chooses to wear. And part of that has to do with, first of all, you don't want these great big boots that you're booting the sheep with, but she has these little leather moccasins because she uses her feet a lot to help maneuver the sheep. So this still gives her some movability.
And traction when she's on the board too,
because
the sheep have lanolin on their fur, which is a type of what?
It's like an oil. Yeah.
An oil. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. It's an oil. so that the board gets slippery too. So part of that's traction for her too.
Yeah.
So she takes that off, and then it gets passed.
And also what I learned that I want to talk about, so I do know there are all different kinds of breeds of sheep, which I've only learned in the last couple of years, but there are a lot. So this particular breed that they have are they're not merino size, but they're a little on the larger size. They're not tiny. So she's maneuvering like 300-pound animals around and shifting them, and she did that really well. So they did get significantly smaller though once the fleece came off.
Yes, some of them were like, are they going to fit into this little pen that they need to trough to get to where they're supposed to be? And you kind of feel the sheep, and that's like there's this much fleece on them.
Which we will admit, it is a later shearing this year. They did leave it a little longer. So this will not go into their yarn, is my understanding this year, because it is actually too long to go into the yarn. I'm learning lots more about this process. So so it's a little on the long side. So it will be used for another project. Don't worry, it will not be wasted. It is still going to go into a wonderful creation.
So she takes the fleece off. The sheep they settle themselves and run out the door so they can feel frisky out in the fresh air. And then you and a couple of other ladies take over with the fleece.
So the fleece is scooped up and brought over to the, oh my goodness, I'm losing the name on the table. I need to know what the table is called. Oh my gosh.
And Ken will bug you on that too, because he made this table. I think it's ingenious. He took some pieces that works really well.
Oh my gosh, it's
right
here.
It's not, I'll tell while she thinks, it's not actually really a table. It's kind of like
skirting. It's a skirting table.
It's got fencing sort of on it that has a bunch of holes in it, and on purpose on top of this.
The fleece gets kind of rolled out onto this skirting table, and then excess like hay or dirt will kind of drop off as well. So the pieces are supposed to fall through that they don't want. We go through it and pull off sort of the stuff that's not going to be useful, because there are certain parts that are just more almost like dog hair essentially, but it's not soft, it's a bit more coarse. So again, nobody really wants that in their yarn, and it won't even stick, it'll just fall out of the yarn.
I know the PEI parts for sure, like the belly doesn't get used.
No, it's because the belly's quite short.
Top of the head doesn't really get used either.
So we kind of pull out the prime parts of what we want. Nothing too detailed, because you got to keep it moving, and then it gets rolled up and put into a big bag, and you're ready to go for the next one.
32 times.
And by the end of the day, like, lanolin is definitely a real thing. My hands were pretty much coated in it.
I watched her shearing scissors. And
clippers.
Thank you. We're both terrible on words today.
Well, and it's all new terminology to us. So
all the clippers, I don't know. But you could see it build up, like right on her clippers there, where you get this thick layer of it on there.
She'd have to pause and clean that off.
Or switch blades or those sorts of things.
But that's also what helps the sheep to be waterproof when they're outside and out and about. So it is a good thing that it's there. You do want it on their wool. It keeps them warm and dry and cozy.
So it was nice for us. We didn't work super hard because it was a smaller flock. We took the better part of a day, but we did it at
they called it a nice pace.
A nice pace. Not a let's bang them all out here and get them all done kind of thing.
So all in all, it was a great day. A great experience for our girls. We're so glad we did it. We look forward to continuing to help with it. Just getting to know a lot more about sheep.
And when you come to the island, I think take note of these things. I think, at least because we know some people are part of the community, we know that sheep are a fairly significant part of island life here. So watch for them, and watch for various shops and yarn shops around, and I think you'll find a lot of interesting things.
Absolutely. There is a whole fiber trail, they call it here, which has several locations on it, which include like some different yarn shops, and there are other things on it as well. You can look up the PEI Fibre Trail. We haven't really done a whole lot of it yet, because we just haven't been in the season to do it, but I hope to. I know we've been to a few when we were up kind of on the North Shore for the summer.
Closer to Summerside.
We did find a shop or two up there that we went and enjoyed last summer, but there's definitely much left to be done.
So hopefully you got to vicariously enjoy a little bit of sheep shearing with us today, and we look forward to sharing more with you in a couple of weeks.
Take care.